Good morning. Hey, I'm not going to be able to do the live noon version today. I'm getting all the stuff out of the store, and those of you that know me, you know what I'm talking about. We're closing it down for good, and I'm getting things out and transferred to a new to where they're going to be stored until we can sell everything. But so I need to hustle today and get that stuff done. All right. I'm trying this on Facebook Live, not Facebook, but YouTube Live. We have permission now to be able to do that. So we're going to see how it works, if it will go ahead and record. This is an experiment. And hopefully it stays recorded in our video library, and I can post it to Facebook later, and also to send it to you as an email attachment, that link as well. So before we begin, let's open with a word of prayer. God, in the midst of all that is going on in our lives, though we be more idle than ever, that we are finding ourselves within the safe space of our home, I ask that you would intrude upon us now in a way that is helpful and encouraging, that it strengthens us. For I find even within myself a sense of worry and dread now as we think about the virus that sweeps across many places in our world. I find myself troubled greatly for those who are putting themselves in harm's way to care for those who are suffering and sick, and my worry increases the more I see, the more I read. Bless them, God, with health and well-being, not just a good feeling for what they do. Keep them well and safe, and their families as well. Take care of those, Lord, who are suffering today. Be with them, hold their hand. May in some way they sense your presence and be comforted. Heal as it is possible, I pray. And help us now to break this word open and to find something for our living here. Amen. I was not lying in the prayer. I do find myself a little more disturbed as more and more stories are coming out from instances around the people who are providing care, EMS workers, doctors, nurses, the lack of supplies that they have, and within the word and stories that are going out about even that this is still some kind of hoax. And I just don't. That is very discouraging. That we have human beings, people just like you and me, who would decide to choose that storyline and then put others in harm's way. So it's not the best of times right now. There is more of an existential angst with me. I don't fear physically. I've not put myself in any places that I would think I would have to worry about that. But I'm still being cautious, and I want you to do the same. I spoke with Reggie Britt today by text, not in person. And what Reggie and I are going to do is we're working on getting our Maundy Thursday, Good Friday services going to be up and running on Zoom. Or maybe we'll be doing something here on YouTube. And so I know that you all can, if you got a computer, you can get to YouTube. It may be better than doing Facebook for us to try to do Facebook Live. So you can also check in and say things to people and get a word out to us of hello on the chat thing on the side. So we're going to work on that as well. All right. So we're not stopping what we're doing. We're just doing it differently. Because we don't have to worry about, as other people worry, I don't think, that we have a security where we're not grounded in the things of this world. Our security lies elsewhere. They can kill the body, but they cannot kill our soul. There is one who manages that, and he is the one who we worship and serve, the Lord Jesus. So let's look at today's scripture. Today is John 8. This story is one of the most famous stories without the church. It is a story that is you are going to know as, and you have probably, it is a safe bet that you have used some of the language, at least one of the sentences here in this story, at some point in your life with somebody over something. So let's look at this. This is John 8, 1 through 11. Then each of them went home. He's talking about here the wheat told them. That's after last we were doing with the Pharisees had sought to trap Jesus in chapter 7, and that's just the end of it. Where after the Jews, he didn't get arrested, and the guard even said, "Oh, this guy is just amazing. We can't believe it." And then everybody just said, "Forget it. We're going home." And so this is what follows. While Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. Early in the morning, he came again to the temple. See, he hasn't left town. All the people came to him, and he sat down and began to teach them. The scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in adultery. And making her stand before all of them, they said to him, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the very act of committing adultery. Now in the law, Moses commanded us to stone such women. Now what do you say?" They said this to test him, so that they might have some charge to bring against him. Jesus bent down and wrote with his finger on the ground. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, Let anyone among you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." And once again he went down and wrote on the ground. When they heard it, they went away, one by one, beginning with the elders, and Jesus was left alone with the woman standing before him. Jesus straightened up and said to her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" She said, "No one, sir." And Jesus said, "Neither do I condemn you. Go your way now, and from now on do not sin again." Was I wrong? Haven't you used that before? I'm not throwing the stone. Let somebody who hasn't, let them throw the stone. You know you have. I have, certainly. It's something that, let me adjust this a little bit. It's something that's familiar to us. We know it. It's one of the most used quotes outside the church, as much as anything else in quotations that people are familiar with. That is where one of the most. I'm not sure that everybody would ever know that it was a Jesus saying, but I'm sure that it's familiar enough. Hey, the thing we use it for, though, what is it generally? It's like kind of combating a self-righteous attitude. Isn't that right? You know, or someone, if we don't feel like we're qualified to judge somebody, so, hey, I'm not doing it. I have sinned. We use it to bring along that way. The Pharisees and scribes, I mean, this is right after they had sought to arrest him already once, and it comes back out right to the temple, and Jesus is there teaching, and people know he's there. They're coming to listen. And the scribes and Pharisees once again seek to trap him so that they can bring a charge, and so they bring this woman. And so one of the ways that we tend to view this passage is that Jesus is maybe Jesus is lax maybe not the word, but has a relaxed view of punishment, or that he is railing against the rigidity of the scribes and Pharisees. But they're not wrong in the law. Whatever about the man that was caught, what about him? He's not brought there. Why not? Those are different issues. And that was just the way they did it in their time. Certainly we don't agree with that way of viewing things now, most of us, I guess. But in that time, that's how they just dealt with it. And that would take us down a different path. And so let's stay off that path for now. But that they weren't wrong again. I mean, that's the law. And we hear in the synoptics, Matthew, Mark, Luke, when Jesus is talking about his sense is that he's not there to do away with the law. He's there to what? Fulfill the law. We read that. We know that. And so in this passage, I mean, the Pharisees and Sadducees, scribes they're not wrong in their pronouncement anyway. But they are wrong in the way that they're using this woman. It's like baiting a trap. And this woman is simply, it's not that they have regard for her spiritual well-being, her the way that she should live her life. They're putting her on a path into living God's ways. That's not their concern here. This woman is simply a tool for them to trap Jesus. And so she is a means to an end. And whenever we use people as means to an end, to achieve a goal that we have, and without regard for them as being a human being, a child of God, we are in the wrong. And so we want to approach it this way and say, look at That maybe that's what Jesus is looking at. The other thing that we have to look at is this, and it's not explicit here, but it's implicit in the story, is that this is still part of the continuing argument about Jesus' relationship uh, to God and his relationship to the religious authorities. He is Son of God, and so he has a authority that they do not have. He can say, "Your sins are forgiven." When he does that, they do not like it. They look at him as saying he is equal with God, which Jesus always points beyond himself as being the one sent. He's the Son of Man, that Old Testament figure that is to come and do the things that he is doing now. And so this is part of the struggle here. And so the way that Jesus handles this, that when they come to him, is he does it in such a deft way. He doesn't confront them and get into a direct, like a shouting match or a argument. He just challenges their authority with his authority in a very different way. He begins to write, and he takes control. Another thing we should say is that they like to control things, and they're wanting to control people's lives. They're wanting to control the situation with Jesus, and he is not allowing them to have that control. In fact, he is saying something to them about their control. And so when he begins to just write on the ground in silence, the first time there, that you could probably just feel the air go out of the space there. That it's just that they're wondering what is going on. We don't know what he's writing on the ground. There's always he was writing some other law, or he's writing something, that there was something else there that he was writing that they were reading, like, oh my gosh, he's putting it to us. He was stepping on toes with that. But we should just point out he takes control of it and does not allow them to continue to control the situation, because his authority is over theirs. Their authority should not be in control, but God's authority through Jesus Christ is what should rule. Eventually, and then he asks the statement about, if you're without sin, chuck that rock, baby. Let's go. And they think about it, and they get it there, and they start to walk away. None of us could have thrown that rock. The only one who could have thrown the rock wasn't going to throw a rock. Instead, he offers forgiveness. I did not come here to condemn you. I came here to save you. That's what he promises. He offers to this woman, who certainly was in the wrong, and he makes no statement about that. He just simply says, go and sin no more. Her forgiveness. She's offered another opportunity to live a different life, a more pleasing life to God. Grace. We know that. You've experienced that. I've experienced that. God's grace, always offered. You think that there's ever a time when God will get so put out with us that God might stop saying, go and sin no more? What would that do to the 70 times 7? If that ever happened? It seems counter to me. That while God's patience seems inexhaustible, that somehow there would be inexhaustible for our forgiveness. I don't know. It's probably more like with Romans. In Romans, when God says he just lets them have their head and lets them run with it, and you reap the consequences that you reap. That's the same as saying, it's the opposite of go and sin no more. Well, go and sin no more, but you're going to have to pay the prices that and consequences of the sins that you commit, if that's what you choose to continue to do. This passage, um, we have to see it is Jesus who does all this. And let our focus not be on the woman and her sins and her forgiveness even, but that or on the Pharisees and scribes and their determination and their just absolute refusal to see him, to stay in the darkness and to see him as who he is, their Messiah. That it is important for us to look at that. It is wrong for us to use people as means to an end. It is wrong for us to judge them more harshly or to not extend forgiveness as God forgives. That it's not about us letting people run over us. I don't believe that. But what it is saying, it's like saying it, calling it for what it is. Hey, God offers you something. God offers you his grace. Take advantage of that. Avail yourself of the power to go and live an abundant life different from the one that you're living now. Those are hard things to say to people, but those are important things to say. Those might be the most important words that we can tell someone. Hey, go and sin no more. Offer yourself in a different way to God, to live God's life that he chooses for you. From this point on, it doesn't get easier for Jesus. It continues to get even more intense. And so as we go in through Lent, continue through Lent, and we head towards Good Friday, let's keep that in mind. As the things intensify around us in our world and people are struggling and will struggle more over the next month to 2 months, however long this continues to play out, let's seek ways to be grace and goodness. I was watching some of the news conferences, which I watch them. I like to get the information. I like to listen to the two doctors, Fauci and Birx, and hear from them. But I was listening to even the media and how things are being played out and how we're, in a sense, there's a lot of people becoming like the Pharisees and the scribes that are using us and using this situation in New York or other places to catch people within mistakes that are certainly have been made and will be made, but that the focus is off of the healing that needs to take place and the means to it, but they just want to bring out the badness in it. I'm reminded of the song from the Don Henley that says everyone likes the dirty laundry song. Hey, we all like dirty laundry. It's what sells. But let's don't get into that. Let's choose in our words and our verbiage, our languaging about what's going on, to simply be people who look beyond the situation and see God at work in the lives of those who are offering themselves every day. Let's for the benefit of those who are sick and ill. Let's look to those grieving families in our prayers and ask God's peace upon them. For those that are sick, to seek God's healing for them. Let's look beyond what is in front of us, not be challenged not be misled by appearances in any way, but understand that the God of the universe, the God who comes to love this world and everyone in it, indeed all of the creation itself, that this God is at work, whether we see it or not, because that would be our faith, that we continue to hope in the things unseen. The God of the Spirit is at work wherever it will. All right? So I ask God to bless you today, to give you strength for your journey, whether you're at work at home or you're still having to go in and do something essential for someone. My prayer is that you are well and healthy, of heart and mind, of body and soul, that your spirit go read something today that is uplifting and focus on those things. Alva Lucas says that one of her favorite things is, if there's anything good, let us meditate upon that, coming from Philippians. Thank you, Alva, because I will always remember that. You have given that to me. All right? God's blessing be upon you. Stay strong, because you are beloved children. Peace.